So welcome to this edition of Leading in the 21st Century, Leadership Lessons from the Front Lines. In this podcast series, we interview leaders from various backgrounds and industries with the goal of understanding today's leadership landscape and to identify leadership best practices. I'm your host, Mike Cherry, and I'm an associate faculty member of the Organizational Leadership Department at Lewis University's College of Business. In our master's and bachelor's degree programs, we investigate various leadership theories with the intention of students applying these theories to their own leadership practice. This podcast series is one way we can assist the transition from theory to practice. In this edition, our guest is Rich Burke. Thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure.
So, Rich, to perhaps set the context, we're talking about leadership, so kind of introduce to us and acquaint us with your role and what are some of your more important leadership responsibilities.
Okay. Well, I'm a graduate of Lewis University as well as my wife of 36 years. I came out of Lewis and I went to work for Spiegel Catalog, which the younger audience among us might not remember, but they were the ownership group of Eddie Bauer, and I spent 20 years there working mostly in the marketing department. The last 5 years I spent as vice president of e-commerce and new business development. And then I left there to go to a kind of a startup, I would call it. It was a company that had was generating about 5 to 6 million in sales. It was maybe step one past a startup. I came in as president. I spent 10 years there. We had multiple retail locations, I believe 3 retail locations and 3 websites. And by the time I left, we were doing about $30 million in sales. And then I left that position to come to Lewis University, actually, and I spent 3 years at Lewis University as the director of enrollment for the Graduate School of Management. I also, during that time, spent 3 semesters teaching part-time. Also, while at Lewis and while at Spiegel, I was an adjunct for 15 years teaching a variety of marketing classes. I left Lewis University and started a consulting company, RBB Consulting, focused mainly on marketing and on helping companies create business plans and kind of coaching executives and things of that sort. And then most recently in January, I joined a company called Dexter Magnetic Technologies as the director of marketing. Dexter creates highly engineered magnetic solutions for such things as medical devices, oil and gas, drilling, and aerospace and defense. And again, it's a very different and new role for me because it's not, I'm used to marketing apparel and office furniture, and now I'm marketing magnetic arrays that go into the nose cone of the F-35. So it's a little different than in that some of the medical devices are things like cochlear implants and heart pumps. So it's very interesting stuff, but way different than what I've done in my career. And it creates a lot of challenges, but I enjoy the new role.
I bet. So given that's a broad range, as you just mentioned, in terms of industries and approaches. You were with us at Lewis at one point. As you kind of think about crossing those industries and over the years, what are some of the trends you see in leadership?
Well, I think it's coming back around. I think I noticed, especially at Dexter and other places, and it's kind of the style that I tried to use, is that I think people are using the velvet glove a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's when I taught at Lewis, I used to talk that I felt there were 2 ways to lead, and one was to be was using love and truly caring and being involved in your employees' lives, understanding what's going on with them and trying to help and really engaging them. And then there's a second way of doing it, which is the iron fist that you can manage and lead with fear. I do believe that's true as long as you're consistent. I don't think you can do both. I think you either use love or you use fear. And I think I noticed I was put through some leadership training recently at Dexter, and it's all about more about love, and it's all about giving 3 positive feedbacks for every adjustment that you provide. And I really enjoy working in this organization for that reason. They try very hard to be positive, and instead of when you get called into an office, it's not this feeling that, oh boy, what's coming. It very well might be something positive, and the management team is really focused on this idea of positive reinforcement and making it a 3-to-1 ratio of positive to corrective action. And I think that's that's where it's at. I mean, I know in my career as a leader, I always got better results when people felt that I cared and that I was bringing them along instead of, just forcing the company policy down their throat.
No, that's helpful. Leadership role models. As leaders,
as I mentioned to you, I really struggled with that because I think that our world is so divided right now that for me, it's very difficult to find a political role model. I find fault in all of them, honestly, and regardless what side of the aisle you sit on, it's there seems to be more negative than positive that comes out, and maybe that's the social media and the news cycle that we're in. But though I thought long and hard about it, as I mentioned, I incorporated some conversations with my kids who are young professionals, and I came up with Bill Gates.
Oh.
Okay. And the reason that I came up with him is a number of reasons. First off, I think he built a company that has staying power.
Right.
Companies don't last 10, 20 years anymore. They tend to peak and then they begin to fail. And Microsoft may not be Apple, but they have sustained many years of success, and they're very important in today's technical landscape. Secondarily, I respect that he's stayed married and for so long, and that he's that kind of a guy.
Right.
And then lastly, I think it's important that people that have that kind of money redistribute it and use it for purposes that help the world. And he's really done that, and I respect that about him. And I think he's really tried to do things to make the world a better place and not just hoarded all of the millions and trillions that he's made into a big bag at the bank.
Right. No, that's helpful. Interesting too, and you maybe have touched upon some characteristics that might be important for you in terms of defining someone as an effective leader. But to be more formal, what are some of those characteristics?
Well, I think you generally have to care. Okay.
Yeah.
And I used to talk to. I had the last place prior to Lewis that I was at Home Office Solutions, the office furniture place I mentioned. I made a point to stop and speak with all of my employees pretty much every day.
Okay.
And I would try to remember something important about their life, even if it was as simple as how's the Corvette running, or, But I tried to remember the names of their children. I tried to remember what life stage they were in, and when I would talk to them, I would ask them pertinent questions about themselves, not about the company. On the other hand, I do believe that you have to hold people to a standard, and it's not all about love. It's we followed protocol when it came to disciplinary action, and again, but I felt that when I had to give disciplinary action in that role and the one I'm in now, that the people that work for me were given, first off, all the tools they needed to be successful, which I think is really important, and then given the opportunity to succeed. And when they weren't succeeding, were given the kind of adjustment that's necessary to maybe put them back on track and succeed. And I think that's really it. I think it's about caring. I think it's about having the right tools in place, and then doing the coaching and the training and the little bit of adjustments that are needed to make a good employee into a great employee.
Yeah. Sounds like, there's love and a little bit of tough love.
Yeah, I think you can't deny that we have to follow the process, and people have to perform. You can't come to work and not be successful. It's interesting where I'm at now at Dexter Magnetic Technologies. I think that they are really kind and they treat me great.
Right.
But I can see that if I stop performing, it'll be a short tour there.
Yeah.
They don't tolerate anything but excellent performance, and and I think that's part of it is that you can treat your employees nicely, and you can show that you care, and you can lead by example, and you can do all those things, but people still have to come to work and provide value every day. I have a consultant friend of mine that when I started working gave me, he said, I have 3 tips to success, and I think they're really important. And the first one is that a daily measurable contribution. Okay. Every day you need to contribute to your company in a way that is measurable. The second thing is bring people along. So that means finding the younger people or the less experienced people in the organization, whether they work for you or not, and bring them along. Okay, train them, teach them the things that you've learned, show them what's important in business and why it's important. And then the third thing is be a good business manager, which means make your budget, don't overspend, understand the rest of the business and how your department fits into that particular business. And I thought that was very insightful advice, and that's kind of what I've been trying to do. And I think it can lead you to success, and it's simple, if you just think of those three things.
Yeah, pretty sage advice. You talk about accountability and that performance piece you mentioned a couple of times. Do you think that's, as we think about followers, perhaps, those we connect with as leaders, what's your sense? Do they want that? Do they want to be held to high standards?
Well, first off, I think that everybody's not cut out to be a leader.
Sure.
There are a lot of people in the world that, I always say there's leaders and then there's soldiers, the people that want to come to work every day and want to just do their job. But I still think they're looking to be successful through accomplishment. They want to be able to make sure that when they leave at the end of the day, we all want to feel good that we did something good today and that, we contributed to the company. Yeah. And I think that's a piece of accountability, it's, and if you have a good understanding and you've been given the tools and the direction that you need, from your supervision or your boss or whoever it might be, I think that accountability just comes naturally, that good employees will be accountable because they may not want to be the boss or the president of the company one day, but they do want to be fulfilled by their work and they want to feel like each day they made some contribution.
Our program, as we spend time on theories. We want to have that theoretical grounding. Yeah. So what leadership theories or approaches kind of resonate with you and your own leadership style?
Well, for me, I just think, again, I come back to that thing about being involved with your employees. Okay. I just think you can't hire people and then ignore them and expect them to succeed. You have to spend time with them. You have to train them. They have to feel like the company really cares and is bought into their success. Right. That would be the first thing. The second thing is I never would hire anybody or put anybody in a position that doesn't have a clear job description. Because how do you hold anybody accountable if you can't give them a written document that says what they are responsible for? That's true. And I think a lot of companies make that mistake. Then I would also stick very closely to the review process. I'm at 90 days, I received a formal review and I appreciated it. I got my 3 positives and my 1 kind of directional advice, I would call it, or an adjustment. But I walked away feeling pretty good, and I felt clear about what they were looking for and what they wanted. So I think, again, Kate having a job description, 90-day review, and then really checking in every 90 days. Okay. I don't think you can just hire somebody and then say, "Oh, I'll talk to him in a year," because things within the business change too much, and the responsibilities of most jobs do change during the first year. So if you're checking in regularly, you can make those adjustments to what the job is. You can understand the struggles and the problems that the employee might be having and help and maybe provide tools or training or whatever is needed to overcome those things. And then you can also assign new tasks and kind of readjust the direction that you want those people to go in. So that would kind of be my theory of how to increase the success as a leader is to be involved, to make sure there's a clear description of what you expect them to do, and then to every 90 days to follow up with that person and make sure that they're doing what you expect, and if not, make those adjustments that are necessary. Right.
As I hear you talking, we think of leadership theories. There's a balance of task and relationship, and your comments there kind of point right to that. Your very first one around that relationship. I know that, but then task. We still have something to get done here. Yes. And so I appreciate that kind of in practice. We hear these theories and we always joke about almost the seesaw, the teeter-totter, right, of task and relationship. And there it was right in front of us. So thanks for that. I've got a statement. Would you like to complete it?
Sure.
All right. I know I am a leader because
people tend to follow me. And again, I think it's when you're the president or a vice president of a large division, your success totally depends on the people around you. And if you can't get them to fall in behind and want to do it, because you can't force people to follow you. Yeah, well, you can, but I don't think it's successful. So what I was able to do when I was leading large numbers of people in an organization, I was able to convince them that my way was the right way and the best way. And that yet my door was always open, and I'm always open to listening to what you have that might be an adjustment to what I think is the right way. But and then communicating, making sure that everybody knows where we're going, how we're going to get there. Here are the adjustments we've made recently to try to ensure that. I think employees need to know the financial situation and status of the company. They need to understand if, I've been with companies that were succeeding. The one I'm with now is growing 15% a year, and the biggest problem they have is getting things they sold out the door. I was with a company that went bankrupt, and I know how that feels. And then I was with a nonprofit at Lewis University. So, but at each of those places, I felt I needed to know what is the situation and what are we working in. And then when hard decisions have to be made, you have a better understanding of why that has to happen. So I think people will, you're a leader when you don't have to tell people to follow you. They just follow you.
Right. Well, Rich, thank you for your time,
pleasure.
Your wisdom, knowledge. I certainly appreciate it. And thank you to our sound engineer, Casey Ross. And for more information for those listening regarding our OL programs, both the bachelor's and master's degree, please call us at 815-836-5610. Or if you feel more comfortable with email, that would be grad, GRAD, @lewisu.edu. Thanks again.
Thank you.